Hello, everybody. This is Daniel Aldana from Guatemala. Um, I'm very excited to show you guys another virtual tour, um, another tropical birding virtual tour. This time, going to Guatemala, my country. Um, I am the formal tropical birding guide to guide our birding Guatemala trip and our birding with a camera Guatemala trip as well. So, if you're a birder, a photographer, or a birder with a camera, Guatemala is for sure one of the countries you should consider visiting. Guatemala is not very well known as a top-notch birding destination um, worldwide in Central America. Let's say in the region, people first go to Costa Rica, maybe Panama or Belize. But today I invite you to follow me and discover what Guatemala has to offer in terms of birding and wildlife. So as you can see, Guatemala is located in northern Central America. It's a country that's right in between the two big masses of the continent, North America and South America. But because Guatemala is closer to North America, it has way more influence of North America than in South America. Not way more, but I'll say a lot. So Guatemala is the perfect combination of neotropical experience of a neotropical experience, but mixed with the impact of the temperate zones in the north in Guatemala's territory, and you will see why and how that affects bird ecology and the bird diversity in terms of endemism. So here we have Guatemala map, the Guatemala map subdivided in several different bioregions. So in the north, number one, we have the Petén. This is the Petén department, and we have the tropical humid forest, and we also have the tropical rainforest. These are two habitats that are really alike. Although the tropical humid forest, I would like to call that a subtropical rainforest. It is really, really seasonal, and the tropical rainforest, it's more of an evergreen rainforest. So we have two different types of rainforest, really, and the reason why this tropical subtropical rainforest and all of the other habitats are very seasonal, it's because we have two well marked seasons in Guatemala. The rainy season, starting in May, going all through October, and then in November it stops raining and it's really dry. And it's dry. We don't expect any rains from November to April. Not any rains, but some rains. So that affects a lot in the habitats, and of course they dry out and they look very different depending on the time of the year where you are. So in the north we have the tropical humid forest and the tropical rainforest. Then in the central highlands, number three, you can see there is cloud forest in the central highlands that divides this central highlands is part of the Sierra Madre that comes from West Mexico, so from West Guatemala, southern Mexico, Chiapas, all the way to the east part of the country. So this divides the country in two. And then later in South America, when it finishes crossing Central America, it becomes the Andes. So number four, we have the mountain forest. I would like to call this a high-end pine oak forest in general. So and we will go through these habitats during the trip. We have number five, the dry scrub forest. These are intermontane valleys that are affected by rain shadow, by rain shadows, and it makes them very, very dry because of the central highlands here in the middle, getting all the moisture from the Caribbean and Lake Isabel over here. So these intermontane valleys, pictured here in brownish, they don't get much rain, and that's why they make a unique thorn forest habitat. Then number six, we have the subtropical humid forest. I would like to call it the foothill rainforest. It comes all the way again here from the west, and it finishes at the other end of the country in the east. This habitat is formed because we have the volcanic chain here, the Pacific Slope volcanic chain. We have 37 different volcanoes. We're going to go through the volcano subject a little bit further in the tour. And then number 7, we have the tropical humid savanna. Sadly, this portion of the country only 50 years ago was a vast rainforest, the most exuberant rainforest the country had because of the soil. The soil is very very rich in this area. We have the Pacific influence in this soil. We have the volcanic chain influence. So this area it's very rich. So the rainforest was the neatest rainforest the country had, and now it's gone. It's all cattle fields, pastures, and sugarcane. So it's sad, but let's see what we have left to protect. So where the tour begins. The tour begins in Guatemala City. You're gonna fly to Guatemala City on day number 1. In the itinerary, I always like to tell my visitors that they should book a trip that arrives in Guatemala the latest at noon, at 12, or sometime in the morning, because during day 1, I always like to drive to Antigua, Guatemala. So Guatemala City is where the blue dot is, and Antigua, Guatemala, it's it's around 39 kilometers, 40 kilometers away from Guatemala City. So it's a really fast drive, depending on the time of the day. If it's not rush hour, it's a 45 minutes drive to Antigua, Guatemala. Antigua, Guatemala is called Antigua because it was the first city Guatemala had 500 years ago, when the Spanish came and conquered the country. They built Guatemala City in a nearby valley. This is how Antigua, Guatemala looks like. It's a colonial city. All these buildings, even the street, they're originally built by the Spanish conquerors back in the day, in the conquering time. So, and in the back you can see already one of 37 volcanoes the country has. This is Agua volcano, water volcano. It was named before it was named water volcano or agua volcano. I'll explain why is it called like that. It was called Hunahpu, the name of one of the Mayan gods. But the Spanish renamed this massive volcano Agua, and that was because in the 1700s, where the Spanish ruled in this city, there was a tropical rainstorm, and it rained. The script says that it rained for almost 2 weeks non-stop. And this is a dormant volcano. It's not active at all. It's been thousands of years that it has been dormant. So the crater over here got filled up with water during this rainstorm, and this flood happened. So one of the walls of the crater collapsed, and all the water contained up here in the crater went down the slope and destroyed this city. So the Spanish decided to move back to Guatemala City and abandon the city that nowadays is Antigua, Guatemala, one of the most touristy places in Guatemala. So this is where we're gonna spend our first night. But as I was telling you, I always ask for day number 1 to arrive in Guatemala City at noon or earlier, because on day 1 in the afternoon we visit a reserve in the outskirts of Antigua, Guatemala. The reserve is called Finca El Pilar. This reserve starts at the valley level. The valley of Antigua is the one you can see down here. It's at 1,300 meters, and the reserve comes from 1,300 meters all the way to 2,500 meters in one of the neighboring mountains of the valley of Antigua, Guatemala. So let me explain to you a little bit of what is going on here in terms of geography. This is our birding spot of the afternoon. So this volcano over here is one of 3 active volcanoes we have in Guatemala. This is called Fuego volcano, that means fire volcano, and this is a neighboring dormant volcano, not active Acatenango volcano. And this slope you can see here, it's Agua volcano. This one over here, you cannot see the whole piece of land here, the whole volcano, but this is the volcano that is over here in this image. And over here in this part is already the coast, so we're really near the Pacific coast as well. So this habitat that we're gonna experience here is the montane forest, or what I called the the pine oak forest. This is how it looks in the interior. It's kind of like in between a cloud forest and a pine oak forest, and this is what I'm talking about. This kind of looks neotropical, but it's very mixed with the North American influence. We have lots of oaks and pines. We have around 8 different species of oaks and over 15 different species of pines. Both species not very common down in South America. There are of course oaks in South America, but there aren't any pines. Um, so the birds we're gonna expect to see here is this lovely bandback wren. This is it's a large wren that it's usually in groups, very noisy, always fun to watch. Um, Also, the regional endemic. We're gonna start looking for our regional endemic birds in this section. The highland regional endemic. I say regional endemic because Guatemala doesn't have any country endemics anymore, but we do have many regional endemics, and the main diversity, the biggest part of diversity of endemics is in the highlands. Other interesting species we're going to be looking for in El Pilar Reserve during our afternoon birding is this magnificent brownback solitaire. It's in the family of the thrushes, and it has some spectacular vocalization. I'm going to stop the music for a while. This is local Mayan music, Guatemalan music, and I'm going to play for you guys the call of this bird. So this is pretty much the sound course that we're gonna be experiencing while birding Finca El Pilar, um, along with other great voices from the wood wrens and stuff like that. One of the megas of Finca El Pilar Reserve, and that we're gonna try to look for during the afternoon, is the beautiful wine-throated hummingbird. It's the second smallest hummingbird in the world after the bumblebee hummingbird that's in Cuba. And this hummingbird, it's around 6 centimeters long. It's crazy small. It actually you actually feel like you're looking more of an insect than a bird. But our main reason to visit El Pilar Reserve is the magnificent fulvous owl. Um, we don't focus much on the day birds here because most of the species that we're gonna see at El Pilar, we're gonna see later on the trip. So the main reason why we visited El Pilar in the afternoon and stay till dark is to see this magnificent owl, the fulvous owl, very similar to its northern counterpart, the barred owl, and in the middle there's the newly described species Cineros owl in Mexico. So this is the, let's say, the southernmost range species of this genus. It sounds pretty much like the barred owl up north. This is the call. Very similar to barred owl. And also while owling, we have good chances of Mexican whippoorwill. They're very vocal and they reply really good to playback. and the fulvous owl is almost a sure shot here in this reserve. There's always a breeding pair with chicks depending on the time of the year, but there's always a breeding pair in a territory I know in the reserve. And as the Mexican whippoorwills, fulvous owls are really really active when you do some playback. So we go back to Guatemala, to Antigua, Guatemala, and we spend the night after owling, and the next morning is spent birding the same reserve, but not the higher part of the reserve. The view that I showed you of the volcanoes, that's the higher part of the reserve. In the morning, we're just gonna visit the hummingbird feeders and the lower trails the the reserve has to offer, and this is our main target here, the Rufous saberwing. It's another regional highland endemic, strictly of the Pacific, of the Pacific slope highlands, right? So this is the violet saberwing that is also around the feeders of El Pilar Reserve. This is the species of saberwing that most of you guys are familiarized with. This is a wide range neotropical species. And so here it is, Rufous saberwing, our main target for this morning. What we can expect also around the feeders are green-throated mountain gems. This is a male that's in the shade, so it's not its green throat is not shining much here. But that's another regional endemic species of the highlands that it's really easy to pin down here in the feeders of El Pilar Reserve. And blue-tailed hummingbirds also are around. This is a blue-tailed hummingbird. So on day number 2, after lunch in Antigua and after birding the feeders of El Pilar Reserve, we're gonna do a big drive. So Antigua, Guatemala is over here. It says here Antigua, Guatemala, and we're gonna drive all the way to the western highlands of the country. So we're gonna be after birding the morning on feeders and the trails below Finca El Pilar Reserve, around mid morning or after lunch, as I said, in Antigua. We're gonna drive for about 4 hours all the way to the west, very near the border with Mexico. The place we're gonna visit, it's called Sibinal. Sibinal is a town located in the slopes of Tacana volcano. Tacana volcano is it's one of the 37 volcanoes that you can find in Guatemala, and it's shared with Mexico. So half of the volcano, the west part of the volcano, is on the Mexican side, and the east part of the volcano is on the Guatemalan side. Along with Tacana volcano, we're going to be able to enjoy Tajumulco volcano. Tajumulco volcano is the largest and tallest volcano of all of Central America, the tallest peak also of Central America, and Tacana volcano, the one that we're going to explore, is the second tallest peak in Central America. These peaks are over 4,500 meters of elevation. So this is how it's gonna be looking, our afternoon birding spot. So after the 4 or 5 hours drive, we're expecting to get there. We're not gonna go to the hotel. We're gonna be expecting to be there at 4, and bird the grounds around Sibinal. This is Sibinal here. You can appreciate this town here. It's Sibinal. It's located at around 2,900 meters of elevation, so we're already pretty high. And the volcano behind is the Tacana volcano, the one that we're gonna be exploring and looking for gems, and mainly regional endemic birds. So yeah, what are we gonna be looking for during this afternoon? The gorgeous looking pink-headed warbler. Some of the guides have told me that this bird should be called the frosty-headed warbler, because that frosty-looking feathers in its head. This is for sure one of the megas of the trip. A bird that everybody wants to see, and a bird that most of my visitors have booked to see while birding in Guatemala. So they're really common in this area. One afternoon, I counted over 60 pink-headed warblers. And the next day, in the whole day, I counted around 80 individuals. So it's a very common bird, almost a sure shot. Of course, I don't assure anything, and I don't promise anything. But this is for sure one of the highlights of the trip: the pink-headed warbler. Along with pink-headed warbler, what we can expect here, other regional highland endemic, is this rufous-browed wren. It looks really similar to house wren. It's actually the same size of house wren and pretty much the same of house wren, but you can see there's like this face pattern that differs from the house wren and this streakiness here in the sides. So this is a bird that it's only in the highlands, in the cloud forests, over 1,500 meters of elevation, and of course they're really common as well. Lots of these yellowish greenish flycatchers, forest flycatchers that we all expect to see while birding in the tropics. This is a yellowish flycatcher, an Empidonax flycatcher, a resident one that we're going to be able to appreciate. And this is the kind of scenic place that we're going to be immersed in. Here I am standing on Takana volcano, and this mountain over here is Tahomulco volcano in front of me. And it has this precious habitat, as you can appreciate in the picture, of this mixed kind of like cloud forest and pine oak forest. So it's a lovely place to go. It's chilly. Here I am already over 3,000 meters of elevation, so the temperatures go from 0 Celsius to 20 Celsius. It's in the morning it can be quite chilly, but overall it's quite comfortable birding. Your optics don't fog off and stuff like that. Also, one of the birds that we're going to be looking for is the blue-throated mudmoth. Of all 7 species of mudmoths you can find in the country, I think that for sure this is the most wanted one. There's another endemic one of the thorn forest, the russet-crowned mudmoth, but in the highlands, this mudmoth, it's a small-sized mudmoth, and you can see it shares with the Lessons mudmoth and turquoise-browed mudmoth that can be found in other places of the tropics that have a very wide range distribution. You can see that this guy has also a long tail, but not a racket tail. So it's a pretty unique bird that we're going to be looking for also. Lots of these guys, common Chlorospingus, there's a lot of different races along its huge distribution. And of course, the race that's here is the Central American one, the Middle American one. And common Chlorospingus is going to be the bird that you're going to be watching all the time. Also, crescent-chested warbler. As another parulid, a very interesting highland parulid we're going to be looking for and hopefully photographing if possible. Lots of nightingale thrushes. This is a ruddy-capped nightingale thrush, really common. But I don't have a photo of this of this nightingale thrush that I'm gonna mention. The spotted nightingale thrush is one of the main targets in this place that we'll be gonna be looking for. But lots of these guys on the roads and on the forest floor, which is really entertaining. Always watching these nightingale thrushes. They also sing really, really nice. So after birding in the afternoon, we're gonna go back and check in. We're gonna go back to the town, Sibinal, and we're gonna check in the hotel and spend the night there. Dinner will be served in the hotel as well. And the next morning, it's a really early start. We're gonna be driving for 45 minutes on a dirt road, kind of like 4x4, but not that rough, on a dirt road to our birding spot for this day number 3. So as I explained previously, I'm in this picture. I am standing on the Takana volcano and looking the sunrise, and in front of us there's Tahomulco volcano. So this is how we're gonna be waking up on day 3, and this is actually where we're heading. This is the house. This is the house of my local guide in Vega del Volcan. This is a nearby village from Sibinal town where we're gonna be uh, spending the night, sleeping our base. So, as I already told you, it's 45 minutes to get here. This is a place with around 3,300 meters of elevation, so it's pretty high. And again, it's full with this beautiful, sweet habitat, cloud forest with conifers. It's just a spectacular place to be looking for birds. So here I'm on the trail. The trail that we're gonna walk. It's above his house. You can see the road goes up here and gets into the forest. This is how pretty much looks like. This is the peak of the volcano we're gonna be on. This is the peak of Tacana volcano, and you can see the how scenic this trail is. Look at those ridges, just impressive habitat for us to be looking for birds. Notice the chusca bamboo here. Further into the tour, I'm going to explain you why this chusca bamboo is such an important piece of vegetation, piece of the vegetation of this habitat. This is the reason why we're going to be in Tacana, and this is the reason why we're going to drive that far away from the central area of the country. It's a long ride, but I much rather do a long drive than a long walk. You will see a long hike. Actually, you will see why am I saying this. So this horned one was spotted less than a kilometer away from Roman's house. The Roman is my local guide. The house that it was in the previous picture. This was photographed less than a kilometer away from his house, feeding on these fruits that you can see here. This the bird is standing on an Oreopanax tree. It's a genus of a regenerative tree of the highlands of northern Central America. And in certain times of the dry season, during the dry season, these trees burst with these with these fruits. And so we encounter a large family of guans of 10 individuals. So it was pretty spectacular. And actually, I visited this place and this trail a lot while on tour, and I've never missed the guan. So it's a really good shot for us to appreciate horn guan and try to get to lay eyes on these of this impressive uh, bird. Yeah, you can see that and they were feeding the young. This is probably a first year bird that was feeding on the Oreopanax fruits. So it's pretty cool. I'm gonna stop the music and play the call of hornguan for you guys. So that's the alarm call. They also do this booming sound. It sounds like very very low. It's very difficult to describe, but like a curacao kind of call, a booming sound, very very low. And here you can see the adult feeding on the fruits and the juvenile there also enjoying. He was on top of his probably his parent trying to reach these fruits over here. It was quite a spectacular moment we experienced with this with these birds. Hornguans are considered one of the top 10 most wanted species worldwide. So, in terms of distribution, hornguan has of hornguan distribution. I mean, 90% of the population of hornguans of the world is in Guatemala, and the other 10-15% is in Mexico and the Chiapas. So, if you want to see this bird, Guatemala is for sure the best place to see it. So, this is the typical view of hornguan on top not at eye level at all, at the very top of the trees in the canopy, looking up to the bird. And this guy was printing, and you can see the pictures a little bit foggy because it's in the cloud forest. So this is a typical view, but if we're lucky, we can get better views of this bird at this location. Look at this photo. I really like it because it shows the pine. He was hiding from me behind this pine and calling. So yeah, for sure, this is our best chances to see this spectacular bird. Also, along the way, looking for our main target here, horned guan, we're gonna be experiencing and appreciating other regional highland endemics like this blue and white mockingbird. It's also a great singer. I'm gonna play the call for you. It's a mimid, so it imitates lots of other bird calls, and it's sometimes difficult to tell them apart. Also, another gem of the highlands, another regional endemic, the garnet-throated hummingbird. This is a reasonable sized hummingbird. It's not a small hummingbird, and it's not a large hummingbird. It's kind of like a medium-sized hummingbird. Very, very colorful for sure, and another one that everybody wants to see. Golden-browed warblers. These guys are usually in pairs, foraging at ground level and the lower vegetation of the forest. Another great bird to be a little bit more wide distribution, but pretty much a regional endemic also. And white-breasted hawk, subspecies of sharp-shinned hawk endemic to the highlands of northern and Central America. It's a really good place to get this endemic subspecies of raptor also. Talking about bamboo, remember when I told you that Chusquia bamboo in this place was key, and it is because of these species, maroon-chested ground doves and slaty finch. I don't have a photo of slaty finch, but they're also very common in these bamboo thickets. Both species have a wide range distribution, but in the case of maroon-chested ground of this bird, as most of you guys know, it's one of those birds that you read on the checklist of the trips and you never even hear them or watch them. Um, I can say that in April, when the breeding season starts and the bamboo starts seeding, these guys just go crazy at this location. And you hear maroon-chested ground doves all day long in April because they're calling it, they're defending territory to start breeding. And it's a stakeout place for these species as well. So um, hopefully during your Guatemala experience, we can lay eyes on this bird as well. Beautiful birds of the highlands of Guatemala, also elegant euphonia. This one was used to call blue-hooded euphonia. You can see why. This is a male, also very, very nice bird. And this is me guiding Nigel Marvin into this habitat. We were scanning for horned ones along these ridges, and actually we spotted the bird somewhere over here. It was pretty neat. And this is pretty much how it looks overall. I picked this picture. This is the peak here. This is the Tacana volcano peak, and this tree here, it's an endemic conifer of Guatemala of the genus Abies. Uh, Not in this picture, but when it's smaller, it looks like kind of like a Christmas tree. Um, so yeah, we have an endemic tree of northern Central America with Mexico, and Guatemala is this conifer over here. And of course, every time we see the horned one, this is the traditional picture we take with the group when observing our fingers resembles the horn of the guan, right? This is a birding adventure. I took these guys in Guatemala. Accommodations in this place. This is our lunch place at Roman's house, our local guide. They're very simple, but we are supporting the locals for them to protect the horned ones and protect the habitat that is left and protect it, and keep on doing this because there's going to be tourists coming in to see the spectacular birds. So it's the true Guatemalan experience. There's not like a wildlife or naturalist lodge here. We're gonna be staying more into like the true Guatemala style, right? A full day of day number 3 is gonna be spent in the Tacana volcano, looking for all the specials over there. And on day number 4, we're gonna spend the morning either around the afternoon birding spot or the Vega del Volcan area. Depends on the targets that we're missing. We're gonna be spending the morning of day number 4 around Sibinal area, the Tacana volcano. And around mid morning or noon, we're gonna be moving to a different location also in the west. So we're gonna move from the Tacana volcano to the northeast to the Cuchumatanes mountain chain, located in the very west part of the highlands of Guatemala. And these Cuchumatanes mountains have these pretty unique neotropical habitat. When you get to this place, the least you would have thought to expect from Guatemala. So this is pretty much how it looks around our lodge. This is in the backyard of our local guide, Esteban. You're gonna meet Esteban, but look at this unique habitat inside the true neotropics. So this is like a kind of like a paramo-like habitat, but you can see there's lots of pines up here in the hilly part. And this is, of course, an agricultural area disturbed a little bit um, uh, for farming of the locals. They eat a lot of lamb. They can't grow cattle up here because it's too high. This is around 3,500 meters of elevation, and it's really high, and it's kind of like deserted. It rains in the rainy season a little bit, but the rain here is not much. So it's kind of like this deserted area. This is Esteban. This is gonna be our local guide. He's an amazing birder. He's been birding the area for the past 5 years, and he knows all the spots for all the specialities that we're gonna be looking for during our time around his house. Um, so the lodge that we're gonna use, it's a rural lodge called Unicornio Azul, but and this is how it looks. Um, this photo is it was taken by Esteban, our local guide, and there are many birds there. So after meeting Esteban, we're gonna bird around the lodge in the afternoon. The species that we can expect finding here. Oh, see, there's another picture of Esteban, posing. This is his traditional clothing. In this picture, he's not wearing it because it was very cold, but this is the traditional clothing they use. Esteban belongs to the Mam people. It's one of over 20 different Mayan communities in the country, and they have, all of the different communities have different languages. So this is he's part of the small community of the Mam people who are in Huehuetenango department, and these are some happy birders taking pictures of our birding guide, of our local birding guide here. So the species we can expect while birding around the lodge in the afternoon of day 4 is the broad-tailed hummingbird. It's very common here. This is a male, a tiny hummingbird, a North American hummingbird that extends its distribution into northern Central America. This is the type of North American influence I'm talking about. Guatemala has the limit of southern species coming from the south. It stops in Guatemala, like several species of antbirds and stuff like that, and the southernmost limit of species coming from the north. This guy is around here. This is a juniper tree, and this pink-headed warbler can also be seen around the lodge pretty well. So we're gonna catch up with pink-headed warblers as well while birding Los Cuchumatanes area nearby the hotel. Pretty spectacular bird, huh? And our one of our main targets. That's why we were here. Not the main reason, but one of the strong reasons why. Ocellated quail. One of the least known neotropical quails is the ocellated quail. Very, very difficult to spot. But because, and actually, 5 years ago, if you would have hired me to see ocellated quail, I would say it's a matter of luck. I can take you to some place and try it there. But because of Esteban knowledge, local knowledge, ocellated quail is pretty common. I will say it's a common bird, but always a difficult bird to see because it's a quail. It's always in these grassy areas on the ground. It calls, but not much. So we're gonna be trying for this spectacular bird, and but also a very very challenging. You can see there's a female here following the male here with a white face. Also, pine siskins. Lots of pine siskins. This is a different race of pine siskin from northern Central America. Another interesting thing, subspecies or a different race of the pine siskins up north. Look how different this guy looks. It's overall gray with a black front, and the wings are yellow and black. Another picture from Esteban. And this is a very poor photo of a black-cap siskin, another regional endemic of the highlands, the black-cap siskin, another main target for this location. So this is how we're going to be looking on the morning of day number 5. This is a day that's going to be spent the entire day is going to be spent in the Cuchumatanes Mountains looking for its birds. So we're going to have a packed breakfast to go. Esteban's wife cooks this breakfast so we early birders can get to the reserve, the nearby reserve. So from the hotel, it's around 1 hour and a half drive. So we have to meet Esteban at the base of the national park, of the Todos Santos National Park, where we're going to be spending the rest of the morning. And then we use a 4x4 for 45 more minutes to get to the right elevation to start looking for our targets. This is how the habitat looks like. And this is what I'm talking about, a different kind of habitat from around the lodge. This is what I call personally a highland pine juniper savanna. This spot here, this exact mountain over here, it's called Cerro de los Cuervos. Cerro de los Cuervos is the highest non-volcanic peak of Central America. This is around 3,700 meters of elevation and creates this unique habitat. You can see there's areas with very, very poor soil over here that only kind of like this grassy tundra habitat can happen. And in the more hilly parts, you only find pretty much pines and short junipers. Also very seasonal. This was taken in the rainy season. Look how kind of like dry looks in the rainy season. And the reason why this lagoon forms here, Laguna Ordóñez, is because it has been raining. But in the dry season, there's no lagoon, and it looks even more deserted than it looks in this picture. The main target. Why are we here? Goldman's warbler, still for North American Ornithologists Union, still considered a subspecies of yellow-rumped warbler. But this is a sedentary subspecies of yellow-rumped warbler, the Goldman's warbler, endemic to the Cuchumatanes mountain chain. This is a good candidate of a country endemic, a future country endemic, but it's not going to happen because it exists. Part of Goldman's warbler exists in the Mexican side as well. We're very close to Mexico, but in Guatemala, it's very easy to see in this park that we're going to be visiting, the Todos Santos Cuchumatan National Park. A shot of Goldman's warbler. They're really easy to see once you're in the right elevation and in the right spot, the right habitat. And when you play the call, the males sit on top of these over 200-year-old junipers that are no more than 10 feet tall, some of them. There are some maybe taller. So it's a pretty spectacular scene when you get to lay eyes on these beautiful Goldman's warbler. It should be split and considered a species of its own because, it doesn't move. It's larger. It's what I mean when it doesn't move, it's sedentary. It's an endemic bird, as I already mentioned. It's larger than the other two subspecies of yellow-rumped warbler, the myrtle and the audubons. Plumage, as you can see, is completely different, and it sings differently also. So I'm sure it's already in like in the DNA studies, and they're probably considered to split it in the future. But if you are a birder from the UK, this is considered a species for UK birders. So remember, I told you guys that there are these grassy tundra-like areas of inside the national park, and this is where we're gonna be looking to this interesting bird. This is a savanna sparrow, but this is a race of a resident race of a savanna sparrow. 3 years ago, only 3 years ago, we thought all the savanna sparrows that could be found in Guatemala were going to be able to be found during the winter, winter in North America. They will be only wintering here, but Esteban discovered that this bird breeds in this tundra. So he sent photos of breeding savanna sparrows. The race is not scientifically described yet, but it's in the process. So we'll see what happens. I'm just mentioning the savanna sparrow because it's a very interesting thing that happens up here in this refuge kind of place. Also, really good spot to see olive warbler really up close for photographers to want to get a good photo of olive warbler. This park for sure is your best option. Also, another endemic subspecies is the yellow-eyed Guatemalan junco. Yellow-eyed junco, it's widespread in the north, but it has these different subspecies that inhabits the dry areas of the highlands of Guatemala. And when dusk arrives, we're gonna be owling, and the only owl that we're gonna be looking for is this guy right here, unspotted Soet owl. It's a very, very difficult owl to see. A most wanted species, as wanted as hornguan maybe or pink-headed warbler. Not only because it's an owl, it's an interesting looking owl, it's a beautiful looking owl, but it also very unknown. As I told you guys 5 or 6 years ago, nobody would really know where to look for this owl, but because of local knowledge, we now have some really good spots to go look for this owl. As hard as its northern counterpart, the northern Soet owl, and the southern counterpart, the South American counterpart, buff-fronted owl. They're very challenging. They're small owls, so small owls do not reply to playback as good as large owls, as I explained to you guys in the case of the fool's owl and other neotropical species. These guys are very skittish, but once we lay eyes on them, I'm sure it's going to be great. And this is a fun photo of a friend's trip I did to Los Cuchumatanes Mountains. This is Phil Count, another tropical birding guide, and my friends and Esteban here. We were happy because in that trip we got all the birds, all the targets we were looking for. We pinned them down. So happy moments there. So as I was telling you guys, the whole day of day number 4 is gonna sorry, day number 5. It's gonna be around Cuchumatanes Mountains, and in day number 6, we're gonna be moving to the lake. So after breakfast, after an early breakfast, we're gonna be leaving to the lake Atitlan, that is located in the east part of the country. We're gonna be driving from like over here to over here. This is gonna be around 5 hours drive, more or less, but we're gonna do some birding spots depending on what we need. There's also a good ocellated quail and belted flycatcher spot in the middle here, so we might do some birding spot along this morning. And we're gonna be expecting to arrive here around noon, check in at the hotel in Santiago Atitlan town, and bird in the afternoon. So I'm gonna, because we're gonna be visiting Lake Atitlan. That actually the lake itself, it's a volcano crater that became a lake later with the time passing. I'm gonna explain you a little bit about the volcanoes. This is the volcanoes, all 37 volcanoes. In red here are the active ones, and we're gonna be we were already in this one over here in Takana volcano, and we're gonna be around these volcanoes over here. That's gonna be the volcano surrounding Lake Atitlan, Atitlan volcano, Toliman volcano, and San Pedro volcano. So this is how it looks pretty much. This is Volcán Atitlan over here, and over here is Toliman volcano, so two together, and San Pedro volcano over here, and the beautiful Lake Atitlan. So all this complex area it is actually a volcano, and this is the crater. And even back in history, even before the Mayans, before the crater was a lake, there was a human establishment in the crater. So there is an Atlantis, actually, an Atlantis of a civilization that goes thousands years back in history. So it's a very interesting area. This is how the place looks like. This photo was taken from the dock around the lodge that we're gonna be using while our stay here. The birds that we can see around the lake are not many. You know, the common herons like green heron, Guatemala heron, great egret, and some soras in these marshes, and some waterfall like blue-winged teals, redheads, um, and stuff like that. The birding of the lake itself, it's not that interesting, but it's volcanoes and mountains surrounding the lake. So here, geographically speaking, as I told you, this is the crater of the whole Titlan volcano. Let's call it like that. That now is the beautiful lake, and this volcano over here is called San Pedro volcano. This is over here is Toliman volcano, and over here this slope, this distant slope, it's Atitlan volcano. And we used to have a country endemic, but not anymore. It was the Atitlan grebe, grebe species that looks pretty much like a pinebill grebe, but in steroids. Picture a pinebill grebe, but 5 times the size. It was a big grebe, flightless, of course, endemic to Lake Atitlan. Um, this is one of the last remaining habitats that this grebe used to use. The grebe went extinct officially extinct in 1990 when the last specimen died, but in the wild it got extinct in 1986. And actually, this place was the last refuge for this species in the lake. This is right in front of my family's weekend house around the lake, and this is a friend of mine birding here, and this is what pretty much disappeared for the grebe. And I just want to tell you guys a little bit more why this species got extinct. Of course, because of human intervention, but also because of natural things that happened. And so back in the 50s, the black bass was introduced to Lake Atitlan, which was an ecological catastrophe. The black bass started eating all the grebe food, all the shrimps and the endemic fish that and the larvae that this grebe was feeding on. Started disappearing because the black bass started eating it all. Um, second reason is that because of the lake, it's such a beautiful place to be. Humans started building lots of hotels and houses around the lake and started destroying the marshy habitat. that the grebe needed to breed. So plus hunting, people used to eat these ducks, and people still shoot waterfowl in this lake. It's pretty sad, but it's the reality. But I'll say that the third reason was the most chaotic one, and the natural reason. In 1976, there was this major earthquake in Guatemala. Lots of people died. Lots of houses went down to the ground. The whole city was completely destroyed. And just after 1976 earthquake, Lake Atitlan water level went down almost 20%. So the very little habitat that remained for this grebe to be able to breed was completely gone after the volcano and the water going down. So going back to the itinerary, um, on the afternoon, during the afternoon, after driving from Los Cuchumatanes and getting to Santiago in the afternoon, we're gonna be birding the slopes of Toliman volcano. Here's the group. It's kind of like a not a very wide trail, but good enough for birds. It's spectacular birding. I know it's in the slopes of the Toliman volcano. This volcano has horned ones. All three volcanoes around the lake has horned ones. And the way of looking for horned ones back in the day was climbing one of these volcanoes. But and it was a rough hike up the habitat of the volcano. But now we just explore the lower slopes because we will expect to see the horned one in San Marcos. This is Freddy Toll. He's gonna be our local guide for the lake area. He belongs to the Tzutujil Mayan community. That's the Mayans around the lake. Freddy speaks a completely different Mayan language than Esteban, for example. They both speak Spanish, but if they would try to communicate in their Mayan languages, they wouldn't understand each other. So Freddy is the boss here, the local knowledge that knows all the specials that we're going to be looking for and the different spots. So this is another great target around the lake, the belted flycatcher. It's another bird that everybody wants to see. It's a range restricted species, regional endemic that actually likes this very unique habitat we have in northern Central America. That it's the dry, shrubby pine oak forest habitat that it's located along the lake's shore. So the habitat that hits the lake is this mixed shrubby kind of like pine oak forest, and this is the bird that we're going to be looking in this habitat during the afternoon on day 6. This is how it looks like. That's my dad. We were looking for a belted flycatcher. He's leaning on a nice oak here. You can see the pines and the shrubs here, kind of like very dry habitat. That's the preferable habitat for belted flycatcher. Along with this guy, also here's another scenic picture of us hiking the volcano. This is Freddy. This is a client of mine, Claudio, and then this is the locals taking down the wood from their land up here. You can see that also the pine oak forest was cut down to make space for agriculture. You see it's now there are mainly cornfields and coffee fields and some fruit trees fields. And this is how it looks, the cloud forest up here. I put this picture here because in case we didn't see the horned one in San Marcos, we have the full day of number 7. We have a full day to hike Toliman volcano and try to see the one. If the group wants, or if not, we hit other spots. But this is how the spectacular cloud forest that looks like in the peak of this volcano. This is the group birding and the slopes of the volcano, and looking for horned ones in case we missed it. And this is the type of world-class views we're gonna be enjoying when hiking. When we used to hike for the one, yes, it's hard, it's long, but it's very nice. The birding along the way is just amazing, and you experience three different biomes, life zones along the slope. Um, from dry pine oak forest, agricultural fields, the transitory vegetation in between the pine oak forest and the cloud forest itself. It's just a mind blowing experience. If you are a birder who likes to hike, this is a lifetime thing to do, a once in a lifetime opportunity. Lots of these guys, rusty sparrows, another interesting bird. Flame colored tanagers are really common along the volcano slopes in Lake Atitlan. And whiskered screech owls. This is a gray morph, but there's also a rufous morph, and the population around the lake. So it's a really common owl for the afternoon of day number 6 to be looking for. On day number 7, we're gonna be visiting the slopes of a different volcano. So in context, the day before, this is the town where we spent the night. Okay, this is Santiago Atitlan, and this is Toliman volcano slope. This is San Pedro volcano, and I am standing on Atitlan volcano. Atitlan volcano, of all 3 volcanoes, is the only volcano that has a slope down to the Pacific, and this makes the volcano hold in the south slope part of this volcano, this key habitat, the foothill rainforest. Um, this is how it looks in the dry season. It looks like kind of like autumn. As I was telling you, it's also very seasonal. This is taking in the dry season, and this is how it looks in the interior. So day number 7, it's gonna be spent um, looking for birds, and it's inside this foothill rainforest. This tree over here is a strangling fig tree. We call it amate in Spanish. And inside this tree is probably an oak or something. And this tree species, the fig tree, the strangling fig tree, is very abundant in this specific habitat. Right elevation, right moisture, and right soil for this tree to grow super fast. And that's where this guy comes into the picture. This guy is strictly tied up with strangling fig trees because it's somehow the forest that has lots of these trees, depending on the age of the tree. It gives fruit in all year round. So a young tree maybe gives fruit in the dry season, and the old trees in the rainy season. So there's figs for these tanagers. The only true neotropical tanager of the genus Tangara that Guatemala has is this endemic azure rump tanager, also called Cabanesis tanager. Along with the tanager, we're going to be experiencing another one of the drab-looking, boring endemics. Most of them are really colorful, but this one is kind of drab. It's the Guatemalan tyrannulet. Got split. It used to be poultry tyrannulet. It got split into 5. And Guatemala has 2 of the 5 species that were split. Guatemalan tyrannulet that became a northern Central America regional endemic, and mistletoe tyrannulet. The mistletoe likes the lowlands better. Also, another big endemic and of the foothill rainforest of the Atitlan volcano slope is the emerald chin hummingbird. This is a tiny hummingbird, maybe like 7 centimeters long, kind of like a bit larger than ruby-throated hummingbird. This is a nice male emerald chinned hummingbird. Also a really good spot for gray-colored beckered, another beckered that some of the birders really want to see. And blue-crowned chlorofonia, this is a female that was building a nest inside this plant over here. Sorry, it's a poor quality picture, but here it is, blue-crowned chlorofonia. Also, wide-winged tanagers love this kind of habitat. I know it says white-winged tanager, the bird with black wings called white-wing, but there you can see the 2 dots there of white. Again, yellowish flycatcher is very common in this area. And our national bird and Guatemala's currency. So our coin is called quetzal. Over there, quetzal. Resplendent quetzal. It's a really good spot to see in the Atitlan volcano foothill rainforest. Most of the birders already have seen quetzals in Costa Rica, but let me tell you that this is a different subspecies, possible a future split. This is Pharomacrus mosino guatemalae. And the one in Costa Rica and in Panama, southern Central America, is Pharomacrus mosino costarricensis. Um, this quetzal, it's larger overall and has longer tail. So it's also nice to be looking for these quetzals in case of future splits. Spending the whole day around the foothills, the higher foothills of Atitlan volcano. In the late afternoon, around 5 or 6, we're gonna drive from Santiago Atitlan. You see the town here that I'm pointing, all the way down to the lower foothills of Volcan Atitlan, Atitlan volcano. We're gonna be visiting Los Torales Natural Reserve and Lodge. This is the first true birding lodge we're gonna visit during the trip. Probably, no, not probably, definitely the only really suitable hotel for birders. So lots of feeders here, lots of great habitat. It's located in the lower foothills of Volcan Atitlan at 700 meters. And in this map, you can see what I was talking about of our Pacific coast. This is the Pacific Ocean, and this is the lowlands of the Pacific that you can see in the Google Maps map, that it's completely swiped out. It's all cattle field, sugarcane, African palm oil, um, and then it hits the volcanic chain, right? So the influence of the Pacific coast and the highlands creates this unique habitat of the foothill rainforest with lots of endemic birds. As I already mentioned, one of the greatest one is the Ajuram tanager. So this is how Los Torales Natural Reserve looks like. It's not only a reserve, but it's also a farm, a coffee farm and an ornamental plants farm. Um, their economy, it's basically these two different crops, but these also permits for the place to be a really good place for wildlife. So this is the coffee factory, let's say, over here, and these buildings over here are the lodge, and you can see the fields of ornamental plants. But this reserve is huge. It's like around 250 hectares, um, and the habitat comes from 700 meters. It's pretty hot and humid down here already. It's the first place that we're gonna be experience hot environments. But it comes from 700 all the way to 3,200 meters. So the property goes along the volcano slope with these great altitudinal different habitats. This is the two volcanoes that we're gonna be looking from this different angle, from the south angle. The same volcanoes we saw in Antigua, Guatemala on the first stretch of the trip. Fuego volcano and Acatenango volcano. Here's the coffee of Los Torales. You see that their their logo is the horn one. It's another great place to see the horn ones, but the hike is way too much. Yeah, enjoying lots of migrant birds here. Lots of migrant birds. Lots of black-throated green warblers, yellow-throated warblers, palm warblers, like this olive-sided flycatchers, the wood peewees. Exuberant place to look for neotropical migrants, yellow-billed cuckoo, black-billed cuckoo. It's a great place to catch up with the neotropical species in their wintering grounds. Lots of white-tailed deers. I know that if you're from North America, probably it's a boring animal to be looking for, but in Guatemala they're heavily hunted. In the tropics, white-tailed deers are heavily hunted, but these guys roam and grass and forage along the lodge surroundings. So it's pretty nice to have deers around. Deers also are a key species for pumas, cougars. They're cougars in this area, and they feed on the deer, so that's why they're very, very important. Also, Central American agouti, rodent, large rodent, similar to the capybaras but smaller. White-faced ground sparrow. It used to be Cabanis' ground sparrow. When it was Cabanis' ground sparrow, it was all along Central America, but it was divided into two. And in southern Central America, it's Prevost ground sparrow, and up here it's white-faced ground sparrow. And if you look at illustrations of both species, they look pretty different. Rufous-breasted spinetail, another regional endemic bird of the foothills and the lowlands of northern Central America. Skulky little guy. White-bellied chachalaca. This is a big endemic. It's only along the Pacific slope, lowlands and foothills, but most lowlands of northern Central America. White-bellied chachalaca. Loads of these guys, the red-legged honey creepers, along the feeders, feeding on bananas, feeding on inga trees, coffee shade trees. Also, Los Rurales, I have to mention. It's the best place we're going to visit for a really neat coffee, the best coffee we're going to experience. Guatemala has great coffee all along its territory, but at Los Rurales, it's really, really good. And it's, of course, bird-friendly coffee. Black throat green warbler here, foraging in a coffee plant. He's a coffee bean. So this is kind of like the scenario we're gonna be birding in. Spot-breasted oriole. This place has lots of species to be looking for, and actually it's a lovely place to be spending time. So we have 3 nights: the night on day number 7, the night of day number 8, and the night of day number 9 are spent at Los Torales, and of course full day number 8 and full day number 9, exploring along the slope of this volcano, looking for all these great species. Lots of lessons moths around the lodge. This is a cuckoo, my favorite cuckoo species, the striped cuckoo, very common. Ferruginous pygmy owl, of course, the pygmy owl that leads all the flocks, the feeding flocks. I play the pygmy owl, which is very common, and then all the passerines go around the pygmy owl. So it's this guy makes birding even better. Black-headed saltators, a great place to see hawk eagles. This forest is it's very mature, and it's very the habitat it's very neat. It's well preserved, so it holds both Spicaetus species, the genus of hawk eagles. Black hawk eagle. This is a juvie of a black hawk eagle, and also ornate hawk eagle flies around the reserve. The rufous cap warbler that was lumped. This was the chestnut cap, a race of rufous cap warbler, really common here too. And again, possibilities of azure tanagers in case we missed it in the previous spot. We have really good chances of seeing azure tanagers at Los Torales as well. Emerald toucanets also. Able to go owling during of course the 3 nights we're gonna be spending there, but there aren't many owls other than mottled owl. It's really common around the lodge. Here he is eating a melodious blackbird. I shot this picture just behind my room at Los Torales Lodge. Black and white owls also are really common around the property. So yeah, this is pretty much what we're gonna see at Los Torales. And for the last stretch of the trip, it's gonna be in the lowlands. So on day number 10, we're gonna spend the morning around Los Torales, birding in the morning, and after lunch, we're gonna drive back to Guatemala City. That's around 3 or 4 hours drive, depending on traffic. We're gonna head to the airport, and at La Aurora Airport, Guatemala City Airport, we're gonna be taking a flight, a domestic flight that's around 45 minutes to 1 hour, around 6 or 7 p.m. at night. So this is quite a long day of traveling, but we have a really nice morning birding at Los Torales. Then we move to the city. We take the plane around 6 or 7 p.m. And once we land here at Flores Petén, remember this is all subtropical rainforest area, the lowlands. We're gonna be no more than 200 meters in elevation, so it's gonna be hot and humid for the rest of the trip from now on. So after we disembark the plane, we're gonna have dinner somewhere around town. It's a nice town here along Peten Itza lake. This is a very neat lake. So they're really nice restaurants. So after dinner, we're gonna drive for an hour and a half north of Flores. So this is the area. This is the area where the domestic flight will land. Then after dinner, we're gonna drive up north into the Mayan biosphere. This is the largest patch of undisturbed rainforest of all of Central America. It is shared with the Calakmul biosphere in Mexico and the Jaguar Basin and other reserves in Belize as well. So we're gonna go to Tikal National Park, right? Tikal National Park. It's the place to end up the tour in the greatest way. It's culturally the best place, the most diverse place of the trip, and also in the natural world. Tikal National Park is considered both natural and cultural world heritage. So it's a place you need to visit when visiting Guatemala, especially if you are a naturalist, a birder, or a photographer. This is how Tikal National Park looks like from temple number 4. Um, Birding Tikal means climbing lots of these temples to get eye-level views of wildlife. This forest is full of kill-bill toucans, colored arasaris, Central American spider monkeys, howler monkeys, oropendulas, antbirds, tanagers, parrots. It's just spectacular, the bird Tikal. And it's the perfect combination of Mayan culture and nature. This is how it looks in the interior of the forest. Here we are birding with a group. I forgot to explain, once we get to Tikal National Park, we're going to be spending the nights where we're going to spend in Tikal that are also 3 nights in the Jungle Lodge. It's a lodge inside the national park. It's one of 3 authorized lodges to be inside the national park. So birds are just outside your door from your room. It's a great place to be. And these are another species. It's a mega, the ocellated turkeys. And notice, where are they standing? They're standing on one of the lower steps of one of the temples, actually temple number 2 of the Central Plaza. These beautiful birds. See them displaying. This is a male doing its display. And I'm gonna show you a nice video of this guy displaying now. If you're visiting Tikal National Park around April or May, you're gonna be able to maybe see the ocellated turkeys doing their displays, their dancing displays, and this is how it looks. There's an Aztec parakeet calling there. Thicket tinamou, melodious blackbird, another turkey in the back. Also lesser greenlet and yellow olive flycatcher. Sulfur-bellied flycatcher. And just above the turkeys, so the turkeys are everywhere in Tikal, right? From the parking lot to around the hotel, inside the archaeological site, inside the forest, they're everywhere. But in the central plaza of Tikal National Park, you can find all year round this spectacular neotropical raptor that's the most endangered raptor of the tropics of America. the orange-breasted falcon. There are very few breeding pairs, and one of them it's they breed in Tikal National Park. They use these cliffs to build their nests, like the peregrine falcon does. Um, but there are any cliffs in Tikal, but they're temples. So they use temple number two of Central Plaza to build their nest. So they're all year round defending that territory and growing their chicks. So it's a neat place. If you want to see these species, for sure Tikal, it's the easiest way to see it. See, this is the kind of temples that I'm talking about. This is how temple number five looks from ground level. This is me with a group of birders during a sunset on top of Mundo Perdido temple. This is these are the other temples. This is temple number five. This is number two, and this is number one. This is the central plaza, and it's just mind blowing how this scenic place of the vast rainforest with these temples emerging from the rainforest and all the wildlife that's around here. Lots of parrots, lots of toucans, and monkeys around. This is a common species that we're gonna be seeing for sure, lesser greenlet. These pictures were taken at from the temples. So the temples, the Mayan temples, they we use them as canopy towers to get to canopy level and get these eye level views that we usually wouldn't be having. Slaty tail trogon, one of many species you can find of trogons in Tikal. Is slaty tail, guarded trogon, collared trogon, and black-headed trogon, respectively. The killbill toucans, of course, are really common. Here's a video I took from Mundo Perdido Temple, and this is how you will be observing wildlife during the sunset and sunrises on top of the temples. There's a red lord parrot calling there also. Also, Montezuma oropendula, it's a really common bird that we're going to be watching. This huge icterid bird that belongs to the Oriole family. Colored Arazari, the endemic yellow lord parrot. They're kind of rare in Tikal, but they're good possibilities of them flying around or seeing being observed from the forest level. They like to breed in lower holes inside the trees. Ornate hawk eagle, a really good place to see these wide range neotropical species, but it's a great bird that everybody wants to see. Barred forest falcon along with colored forest falcon are really common also. This is a hermit. This is a long-tailed hermit. The black-headed trogon and hooded warbler. Yeah, also again, Tikal is great to catch up with wintering migrants. Hooded warblers along with Kentucky warblers, magnolia warblers, white-eyed vireo, yellow-throated vireo, black-throated green warbler, black and white warbler. They're all over the rainforest wintering. Here's another photo of a white-eyed vireo, very close. White-colored mannequins can be found here along with also red-cap mannequins. Ruddy wood creeper, along with many species of wood creepers, lots of army ant swarm feeding flocks. Um, um, Ruddy wood creeper, tawny wing wood creeper, northern barred wood creeper, olivaceous, wedge-billed, strong-billed. Here's a picture of ruddy wood creeper and a tawny wing wood creeper here. White-whiskered puffbird can be seen in Tikal along with a white-necked puffbird as well. The endemic rose-throated tanager can also be seen in Tikal, another Yucatan Peninsula regional endemic. Black-throated shrike tanager that leads most of the feeding flocks in the rainforest. This is a male black-throated shrike tanager, another regional endemic from the Yucatan Peninsula. And this is a female gray-throated chat. I don't have a good photo of the male. They're really difficult to photograph. They're always very skulky inside the thickets and in the lower vegetation of the rainforest. Cal National Park, it's also a great place to catch up with toady mudmots, a species that's all over Central America and parts of North and South America. But Tikal has some great spots, and the population of toady mudmots, it's big enough for us to be able to see them while birding the trails of Tikal. Also, these wide range distribution species, it's very easy to see in Tikal. Great curassow. I know that in South America, great curassows have been heavily hunted, so their numbers are very low, and that's why it's very difficult to see them down in South America. But in Tikal, they're not afraid of people really. Tikal is a place where hundreds of people visit every day, so wildlife is accustomed to people. They're not afraid of people. People don't harm them. So this just makes things easier for us when visiting Tikal. This is the female great curassow. In my opinion, much showy, way much more beautiful than the male. And Tikal is for sure our best place to be able to observe some mammals. This is a many-banded armadillo. Um, um, because of the same thing, animals are used to people, so they venture out and they don't care much about us. Monkeys are all over the place. This is a Central American spider monkey. They're also Yucatan black or Guatemalan howler monkeys. This is a white-nosed coati drinking water. And we have chances of seeing either puma or jaguars. I say chances. This had happened before. I've seen jaguars before with groups and also pumas, but it's just a matter of luck. You're there where they are, sharing the same space and stuff, but being able to see it, it's very, very difficult. So this is it, guys. Thank you very, very much for your attention and for following me all the way to the end. Thanks for watching again. Thanks for following Tropical Birding virtual tours. I encouraged you to take a look of the other guides' work. Also, they have some amazing virtual tours for you guys to see in case you're looking for traveling in the near future when this pandemic is over. Remember, guys, that Tropical Birding rocks, and it would be highly appreciated if you can consider us hiring us for future trips. Thanks a lot, guys. This is Daniel, and if you have any questions regarding our Guatemala birding trips or Guatemala birding with the camera, please don't hesitate on going online and writing us an email at info.tropicalbirding.com for any kinds of questions you have regarding this trip. Thanks a lot, and hope to see you soon somewhere out there with the birds.